Hey, Grace House Churches. Hopefully, you've had a good dinner and now excited to have a conversation about running the race with endurance. So, in Hebrews chapter 12, the author has called back to chapter 11 to say that's the story of God's faithfulness in history. They ran their race. Now it's time for us to run ours. And so, in this text, he gives us like this 5-step plan on how to run. And he says, first, that God has a race marked out for you. And not somebody else. Don't compare with others. He has a race for you. You're in the game. You're involved. You have to participate. And you should start thinking of your spiritual life as running a race. And then secondly, he says if you're going to run that race, you must throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And he offers two different things there. There's sin that should be put to death and fought with and confessed. And then there's this stuff that entangles. So morally neutral things that are hindering your walk with Jesus. And he says both of those can be problematic. I told a story about Steve Prefontaine, the great University of Oregon distance runner who tore the Nike logo off his shoe because it weighed too much. And that's how we should think about walking with Jesus, that we're in training. Like an elite athlete would think about running, we think about walking with Jesus as though like stuff has to get out of my way in order to walk with him. Then he moves on from there and he says in this journey of throwing things off, we should expect pain and discipline. And then for the next 6 verses, he talks about how God loves us, and as a good father, he disciplines us. So as we're running, we should be correctable, we should be teachable, and we should recognize God's going to convict us, and he's going to challenge us and change us, because you don't want to live in a world where kids are in charge. In the same way, like God's making sure that we're not in charge, that he knows best, and he's a good father, and he's trying to get us to release control. And then it moves on to not growing weary and losing heart, recognizing that this cloud of witnesses is designed to encourage you and to keep you running. And then lastly, the motivation for all of it, and the thing that really brings it together, is he says, as you run, fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and is now seated at the right hand of the throne of God. He says, if you need motivation to endure, then look no further than Jesus, who endured our sin on the cross, and he even went through shame in our behalf. And so the question for us is, how are you doing in running your race? Like, are you recognizing that God's called you to this? And are you treating it like an athlete would treat training? And then next, are there things you need to get rid of? Are there things you need to walk away from that are hindering your walk with Jesus? And so as you guys have a conversation today, it could be fun to just answer the question, how are you doing in your race? You need to pick up the pace? You need to slow down a little? Do you need some encouragement? Are there some morally neutral things you need to walk away from? What are you carrying that you shouldn't be carrying anymore? Because the good news of the gospel is that you've been invited into a community, both historically and presently, that are a cloud of witnesses trying to help you run your race in faith all the way to the finish. So I look forward to you guys having a conversation about this.